In a world full of noise and endless distractions, the hardest thing to find is clarity. Here, we uncover the ideas, tools, and stories that help you focus on what truly matters so that you can live and work with purpose. I'm Stuart Hislop, and this is The One Thing Guy.
Goals. We all love them. We all need them. Why? Well, they give us some form of direction. But what if the reason you keep missing your goals isn't a lack of motivation, but the way you're approaching success? You see, something of a reflection. Most of us, like myself, we were actually taught to almost obsess over the outcomes, over the goals. You need to lose weight. You need to get that promotion. You need to finish reading that book. You need to finish your qualification. You see, we're almost taught that the achievement of these particular goals is the most important factor. But the truth of it is, when we do fall short, it actually sometimes feels like failure. And we actually end up quitting. And the more we go through this particular journey of not achieving these goals, the more we feel like a failure. Now, it might not relate to you, but I can say from my own personal experience, if I don't achieve it, I do feel a little bit down. I feel almost deflated. I do get back up by using a system, and I learn, well, what actually happened? Why didn't I achieve that? And that's really what I want to discuss with you today. You see, real change in our lives doesn't come from chasing the goal. It actually comes from building systems. And these particular systems become something that is scalable, something that is repeatable. And when you get to that point where you've got this repeatable system that you know that if you want to achieve a certain outcome, you just use this system. And ultimately, the journey that you go through, that is what you're actually wanting to remember, because those are the memories that get created. Once you achieve the goal, you suddenly feel this level of, right, the journey to get here was amazing. And this is what I want to share with you. Now, it took me some time to sit down and actually almost articulate what is it that I can help you with today. And I've actually come up with 5 actionable tips that you can actually implement to help you to go through this particular journey so that you don't feel deflated, that you don't feel like goals are something for other people. It's got to be something for you. So the first actionable tip that I want to share with you, and this is actually a mindset shift. I want you to stop thinking about the outcome. But what I want you to think about is the process. You see, when we spend our time just thinking about that outcome and achieving that outcome, we start to obsess, as I started with. But what we really want to do is we want to have that goal as the lighthouse. It's the direction as to where we're actually going. And more importantly, when we start thinking about the process, we're actually going to start thinking about that daily focus, those actions that we actually do today. By the way, these actions, they're in your control, all right? This is not somebody else telling you what to do. This is you putting in your control. You see, what I really want you to get out of this particular tip is once you start moving from only thinking about the goal and thinking about those steps, those actions, the process to get the goal, when you wake up every single morning, you're actually going to have a much clearer idea on the actions and activities that you will take each and every day. Why? Well, by completing those actions or activities each day, it puts you onto the journey of achieving that particular outcome or goal. So, for instance, if you wanted to write a book, all right, don't try and write the entire book in one day. Maybe set yourself a goal of saying, let me write 200 words a day. Start with something small, something that's in your control, and you'll then start to go through. You see, really what we want to do is we want to move, and think about it this way, we want to move 1% closer to our goal every single day. That's really what we're wanting to do. So don't have that mindset of always focusing on the goal. Have that mindset that starts thinking about the process on how to achieve that particular goal. Once you get that right, man, those goals get knocked out of the park every single time. So the second one that I want to share with you, and this is one that we use in the One Thing often, and it's something that when we have this idea of what we need to do, we need to break it down into something small, little bite-sized chunks, something that can become a repeatable habit on an ongoing basis. So what do? We take that big goal. For instance, let's carry on with writing a book. We take this big goal of writing a book and then say, okay, I want to break it down to something smaller. So maybe, every, let's say, month, I want to do a part of the book. And then every week, maybe I want to focus on one chapter of the book. And then every single day, I just want to focus on maybe 200 words to 500 words per day, something that's much smaller. You see, when we take these big goals and we think of them as this big goal, and we suddenly have this mindset of, I need to achieve this today, it starts creating fear in us. But when we take it and we reverse engineer it all the way down to small, repeatable habits, suddenly it becomes so much more achievable. And what we start doing is we actually start getting into the habit of doing these little tasks that are in your control, by the way, doing these little tasks every single day. And before you know it, you've actually hit a milestone. You've completed a chapter. You've completed a part. You've completed a book. And this is that journey that actually goes through. So the second actionable tip is take those big goals and break them into tiny behaviors that you can sustain every single day. That's so important. And you can think of anything in your life, whether it's something to do with your health, whether it's something to do with your personal development, whether it's something to do with your relationships, whether it's something to do with your business. Take the goal that you're wanting to achieve, reverse engineer it all the way back to these small, repeatable habits. And then just put those habits into your diary and away you go. Now, the third actionable tip, and this is one that I actually did personally. So to give you a bit of the background how this one came about was I wanted to strengthen my shoulders. I'd actually damaged my rotator cuff and it was huge amounts of pain. And you can relate to me. If you've gone and damaged your rotator cuff and where that is, that's your shoulder. When you lift your arm up, when your rotator cuff is damaged, the pain is unbelievable. You have no strength in your arm. And I went through a bit of a process to have that mended, took the rest, ice, had it compressed, and all the things that the doctors, the Google doctors told me to do. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to strengthen it. I didn't want that to happen again. So once I'd recovered, I wanted to start the habit of doing 50 press-ups every single morning. And I thought this is great. Now, 50 press-ups is a lot of press-ups when you've never done them before. So I slowly grew into it. I started with 5, then I went through to 10, and I slowly built myself up to 50 press-ups per day. But what I found challenging was to get that motivation to do the 50 press-ups or the 5 press-ups. So what did I do? And this is my third actionable tip. I wanted to create a new habit. So what I did was I anchored the habit of doing press-ups to something that I was already doing, an existing routine, an existing habit. I then started to identify what are the habits that I do every single day without me thinking about it. And ultimately, I started to create habit stacking. I want to leverage off that habit to start doing my press-ups. So I thought to myself, right, there's something that I do every single morning. I take a shower. Every morning I go and I take a shower. I thought, how do I associate doing press-ups with a shower? And I thought, it's easy. Well, normally we go to gym, and after gym we have a shower. That works in quite well. So I thought to myself, I will do my press-ups, and once I've completed my press-ups, I will get into the shower. Now, something amazing happened. If I suddenly in the morning, I would go in and just shower, it hit me. I haven't done my press-ups. I would stop. I would go and do the press-ups, and then I would carry on with my shower. You see, when you start to attach this new behavior, this new habit, to a habit that's already in your diary, already into your autonomous day, suddenly it becomes easier. So that third actionable tip is to anchor those habits to existing routines. Have a look at something that you do every single day. It could be something, for instance, you have a cup of coffee every single morning. Or maybe after you have a cup of coffee, you go for a quick stretch. Maybe you have dinner. Well, most of us have dinner every single day. Maybe you want to journal straight after dinner or before dinner. When you brush your teeth, maybe you want to read a book. Have a look at those habits. See which ones are cemented into your day. And all you do is you habit stack this new activity onto that. And I'm sure you're going to find something and go, this makes it easier. The fourth one, and this is one where it is a little bit more of a internal. You need to reduce this decision fatigue with some kind of system. You see, when you are sitting down and you are thinking, all right, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? I don't know how to do this. I need to Google this. I need to go and search this. I need to go and do this. And you're thinking and you're thinking and you're thinking, and ultimately you start getting decision fatigue. Because ultimately what you're doing is you're going, well, I could do this, but I could also do this. Let me ask somebody else. Let me get their opinion. And then ultimately you get into that world of procrastination. And that world of procrastination starts to really grow and grow until you actually don't do it at all. And ultimately that procrastination prevents you from doing the journey to achieve the goal. So what we need to do is we need to find a place where we can actually sit down and make our decisions. And we do this with a fixed system. So the first one, pre-decide when and how you're actually going to act. So for instance, for me, I was thinking I need to do these 50 press-ups. Well, I could have said, well, I could do it maybe in the bedroom. Maybe I could do it out in the gym. Maybe I could do it out in the lounge. But for me, what really worked was my when, I'm going to do it before I shower. I am going to do that before I shower. And how? Well, I know that I've got everything in place. So I will then go through and do that in the bathroom just before I shower. Fantastic. And I did it at the same place at the same time every single day. I knew when the schedule came in. You see, that became part of my system of actually achieving this small little goal of strengthening my shoulders. And did it work? Absolutely. I can say with confidence that I haven't had any pain or lack of strength in my arms or shoulders for probably 3 years. And that all was on the back of doing something that I actually had the decision fatigue removed and replaced with a fixed system. It's a simple system. It doesn't have to be designed. It's something where I just knew where I'm actually going to do something. And this is something that really, I want to say for me personally, became almost like a motivation every day. I got excited to actually go and do the press-up. I don't know why, but when I stacked them together, it actually made me feel good. Maybe it's because when I jumped up, I looked in the mirror and I was all buffy because I'd done 50 press-ups. Maybe that's the case, but I didn't have to think every single time. I just knew when to do it. And then the last one, and this is one that we as coaches, we work with all our clients. And I've done this for many, many years, and I help my clients to set these type of systems up, is track and refine what you're doing on a weekly basis. You see, this particular journey as you're going through it, it can change. You could do one activity this week and then have it completed. So for instance, you might have decided that you want to write a book and you're going to be doing a part in a month and a chapter in a week, and there's 4 chapters and away you go. But you get so excited in the area where you're writing that you actually write 4 chapters in a week. You finish part 1 in the first week. In the third week, you've actually completed 3 parts because you've got so excited. And by month 2, you've actually completed the book, but you'd actually set yourself out this goal of only doing it and completing it in 6 months. And you've now done it earlier because you've got the system and you know when you're actually doing it. So what you need to do is you'll then start to adjust. Because I've achieved it, do I look for a different goal? Do I need to have a look at those aspects to help me achieve that goal, learning from what I've just done? On the reverse, you could have had the idea that you want to do a part every month, and then you want to do a chapter every week. But as life happens, suddenly we're unable to get to write 4 days a week. We may only have 1 day a week. Now we pull that into our calculations and we suddenly go, hey, I can only complete a chapter every month. Now what we need to do is we need to review what we're doing on a weekly basis. What's working? What didn't work this week? And then start doing this adjustment that you can actually start to correct and get yourself on track. Very often when I have clients and they say to me, Stuart, I wanted to do X, Y, and Z, but I only managed to do X. Now, they are expecting me to reprimand them and say, why didn't you do Y? Why didn't you do Z? But when I have a conversation with them, I get to realize X, if we look at the size of what they wanted to do, was actually the same as STUVR. It was a whole clump. It was a massive amount. And really what they did is they overloaded. So when we start to review it, we can see, hey, we didn't chunk this down small enough. We still had something too big. We needed to get it smaller so that we can get it through the week. You see, what we're wanting through this process is we want to start tracking consistency, not the perfection of ticking every single thing off. We want the consistency of doing these small tasks that become habits over time. The more we do that, the more we get in aligned and we create this particular system, that this system becomes repeatable and it actually starts to flow. The more you're in control of the system, and I can share this, the more you're in control of the system, the better you feel. You actually have this level of excitement and energy inside of you. You don't need external motivation. You're inspired from within because you're wanting to actually achieve this. So you need to track and refine every single week. And the process is simple. A simple process as on a Friday or a Saturday or a Sunday, whichever day you prefer of the week, you actually sit down and think about, over the last 7 days, what worked? What did I accomplish? What did I complete? And recognize it. Those are the successes. What didn't work? What did I fail at? And I use the word fail because I'm going to go, okay, I failed at that. What can I do to learn from it so that I don't repeat it again? So you might not like the word fail, but I look at that as a highlight. A highlight for me that when I note something as a failure, I know that I need to learn a new skill. I need to up-level myself so I don't do that again. When you do this reflection over the last 7 days, you'll find internally, you're going to say, hey, I now know what works and what does not work. And that's all part of your system. When you get through this particular process and creating the system, and not to perfect it, but really to have this consistency as you're going through, that becomes the most important part of this journey, so that you are doing this on an ongoing basis. So when we look at all of this, the first part of our shed is remove that mindset of just focusing on the goal and start thinking about the systems, the tools, the processes on how to build to get to those goals. That's the journey that you go through. The second is to take those goals and break them down into smaller, repeatable habits. And so small that it could be done in 10, 20, 30 minutes. It could be done in a day. We need to make them so small that they actually become easy. Once we've identified those small little actionable tasks, we actually anchor that habit to an existing routine, something that we're doing every single day. Now, this will take a little bit of reflection, and then we start to either say, I'm going to do it before or I'm going to do it after, but we habit stack the two. The fourth is to actually remove that decision fatigue where we're thinking, okay, but should we do this? Should we do that? Should we start with this particular activity? Where do I do it? When do I do it? We actually have that broken down so that we know, hey, I'm going to do 50 press-ups before I get into the shower. Done. It's in the bathroom. It's in the morning. Done. I don't have to think about it. All right? I will just do it. And then on the last one is make sure that we track and refine it on a weekly basis. We do not want to be doing activities that makes us exhausted, does not get us closer to our goals, and actually makes us want to stop. When you get to that point, something's wrong. It means that you haven't tracked and refined it. You want to build week on week a level of excitement that actually gets that inspiration inside of you. And trust me, once you get to that point where you can actually feel that inspiration inside of you, it's such an amazing feeling. I will say it's such an amazing feeling. You start going on autopilot where this new habit, this new action becomes autonomous. And once it becomes autonomous, you will actually then say, hey, I've got something new. I want to stack this on something. And guess what? You'll start to stack all of these new habits, these actions, these tasks that excites you together. And when you get to the end of the day, end of the week, end of the month, you are in another world. I promise you, the endorphin rush from this gets exciting and it's natural, which is brilliant. So I want to close with a quote that really is going to give you some form of impact and hopefully leave you with something that you can remember. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. So build better systems and success will become inevitable.
You've been listening to The One Thing Guy. Remember, when you focus on what matters most, everything changes. See you next time.